This is reconsideration of resolution number E74 2012 from the August 13th Executive Committee meeting by the Mayor under Section 131 of the Community Charter regarding the Métis Provincial Council BC property located at 30691 Simpson Road. This is an official community plan amendment and rezoning application. And what we need first is a motion to reconsider the item if Council wishes to do that, and then move on to the report if it's a positive vote.
Sure. Now, motion to read. Move. Councillor Smith moves. Will you second that? Thank you very much. Do I even need to say anything? It's going to be a long night. Should we just? Basically, the reason I've reconsidered this is as I said during the meeting, not all of council was here, and this particular issue, I believe, was important enough that it was worthy of the entire debate of council and the entire wisdom and input of council, and so I just asked for it to come back at that time because most of us were away on holidays. That was my reason. Councillor Braun.
Thank you, Mayor, for that explanation. I just wanted to add my 2 cents worth as to why I did not vote in favor of deferring this. I did so because I felt it was unfair to the delegation to have sat here for as long as they did, only to be told we don't have enough we don't have a full complement of council here. So I wanted to honor them by their presence here to not defer it. On second thought, maybe I should have, but nevertheless, I voted not to defer it, but that was the reason for it. And I guess a question that I would have is if we know there's an important issue and we know council's vacation schedule, I guess the question is why was it on the agenda in the first place then if we're waiting for a complete complement of council? So I just wanted the delegation to hear what my reason was for not deferring it.
Well, I guess the answer to your question would, I'll take the hit on that one. I guess I could have pulled executive privilege, but I, like you, wanted time was an issue. Time was of the essence with this, and yeah, I think also at that time it just sort of fell in the schedule, kind of where it fell, if I recall correctly. Frank, you got anything to add to that?
Well, I think, Mr. Mayor, certainly in my 4 years here, we've always worked on the basis that council is allowed to take vacation, but important matters don't stop because council's on vacation. And therefore, we usually proceed with debate and decision making by council. On this particular case, and I don't recall in the past where we've had 3 councillors away, so it was a fairly unique situation. And because of the unique situation, the mayor has chosen to bring it back. But I agree with you that important matters should probably wait until at least the majority of council is here. Thank you.
So, Councillor Gibson.
Well, I'm glad you brought it back, and I'm looking forward to having my colleagues who weren't there to be able to hear some of the issues, because as you'll know from the vote, and you were present, of course, Mayor, Councillor Gill and I, were in favor of this proposal. So I'm sure our colleagues will be apprised now of more details to help them make a good decision.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councillor Lowen.
I'm assuming it's open for discussion, and why I...
Well, no. We need to actually have a vote to whether we'll entertain it at all. There is the opportunity for council to say no. You may not. It's fine for you to ask, but the answer is no. We're not going to have any discussion. The vote stands pat the way it was. So the first thing we need to do is either vote whether we want to revisit the matter or not. Is there any further discussion on that? None? All those in favor of revisiting the matter then? Thank you. Councillor Lowen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I thought I wanted to reopen it if for no other reason than to express my position on this, so that there'd be no question. Let me say at the outset that being employed in an independent school, I value the importance of independent schooling in our province. It's a significant percentage of our student body that are attending independent schools of all sorts and stripes, from, well, I'll leave it at that, 11, 12, 13%. I don't know where it's at now, but it's significant. Having said that, oh, and one other thing I was going to mention, I was struck by the significant number of individuals who signed the petition. And so my view, I do want to make it clear that I respect those individuals' wishes, their desire to be able to have a school, an independent school where their children might attend, a school that reflects their philosophy, their point of view, their life experiences. Having said that, I'm also a very strong believer in what we're trying to do as a city in planning for the future. And I know that these lands, in particular, are designated for industrial. And we all know how precious little of that land we as a city actually have. And it lies right in the middle of a strategic location relative to the airport, relative to the freeway. And so my comments to the applicant simply is, I invite you to find suitable land in our city. I'm more than welcoming you to do so, and wish you well in that pursuit. But I'm not in favor of using this particular land for institutional purposes, and so I won't support their application.
Before we, thank you. And if you'll also allow me one more executive privilege, so to speak. The Dale Drown, is it Drown? Dale from the Métis School has asked to speak to council, and I think that was the only delegate. And Joe Chahal would like to take just a couple of minutes. If would council entertain listening to these two gentlemen? If so, it's moved by Councillor Gill, seconded by Councillor Gibson. My apologies. Seconded by Councillor Ross. All those in favor, then? Who wants to go first, gentlemen? Thank you for waiting, by the way.
No problems. That was a tough act to follow. Mayor Banman and members of the council, thank you for the opportunity to speak again directly to the Executive Committee of Council. Our hope in bringing this item again before council today is to gain your support in sending this matter to a community information meeting for the purpose of discussing the needed OCP amendment, and then with council's further approval onto a public hearing for the rezoning of the lands back to a 6-decade-long use as an institutional property. With the support to move the application forward for public discussion, we will move toward the goal of seeing Casa School establish a private elementary school on the site. Casa School have a 25-year tradition of providing a fully provincially mandated curriculum along with religious and cultural education to its thousands of students in the Lower Mainland. Our school will provide our children with the foundation of faith, culture, so needed to ensure their future lives as positive contributing members of our society. Such schools are proven to be of great importance in keeping our children from negative influences such as drugs, gangs, and violence. Casa schools are open to all children. The schools will continue to focus on the highest moral and religious values of the Sikh faith. Mayor Banman and senior civic and planning staff have most kindly welcomed Casa School into Abbotsford. Thus our focus today will be to gain your support and eventually that of the public to permit the school to occupy the existing school building on the site at 30691 Simpson Road. We suspect council will be familiar with the history of the site, for which nearly 60 years has served West Abbotsford, first as an elementary school and then as a middle school. More recently, it has been used as a training school for the Métis. They have determined such a use is to be less than feasible and have placed the property on the market. Coastal School proposes to establish an elementary school for approximately 200 students, the vast majority of whom will be bused to and from school. The location on Simpson Road is well suited to serve the Sikh community and the families who live in the west end of Abbotsford, including many farming families. The existing building has undergone significant upgrades by the current owners. The building is ideal for its use as an elementary school. We provide the following consideration for your consideration the following rationale to support the application and allowing it to move forward for public input. The current use of the land is not feasible and is failing. Mr. Dale Drown will be addressing this in his presentation to follow. Council should know that in the 8 months since the land has been on the open market, there have been no offers from commercial or industrial users. Coastal School's offer is the only one received, and it has been accepted with council, subject to the council's approval for the proposed school. The site is not suitable topographically for large industrial buildings. The site is stepped in 3 distinctive levels. It borders onto an environmentally sensitive creek, and the building itself is not suitable for common industrial use. If council approves this application, the Coastal School is prepared to dedicate all the environmentally sensitive lands within the property to provide the access to existing trail systems in that area. According to the 2011 year-end Cushman-Wakefield Industrial Absorption Study, there's nearly a 6% vacancy rate in the existing industrial buildings in Abbotsford. This translates to approximately 7 years of supply of industrial building space. The study does not take into account new industrial buildings currently proposed or under construction. The use proposed by CALSA is tried and tested business model, which will create approximately 25 permanent jobs and provide business for local school suppliers and others. Coastal School attempted to purchase the Dunak school located at the corner of Downs and Mount Lehman Roads, but the school district informed Coastal representatives that they could not sell the public school site. No other locations have been located after 2 years of exhausted search for suitable conditions. There's a genuine need for the school, but the opportunity to find land for the school is virtually non-existent in West Abbotsford, where the majority of our students and our families live. Whereas we are truly appreciative of City Council's welcoming Coastal School to the city, but without finding available lands, we are unable to bring Coastal School to Abbotsford. The site is an ideal location for serving the large Sikh population in West Abbotsford. The building is perfectly suited for school use proposed. The pre-existing elementary and middle schools operated safely on the site for many decades. The property is totally fully fenced for safety reasons. 2 similar schools operate in the industrial areas on Windsor Street. The site we wish to use has been operating as a school while industrial growth happened near it. The site is actually on the edge of industrial area and is buffered on the west and the north by the environmental areas. This elementary school will serve the needs of many of the area's thousands of Sikh families. We have 2 supportive petitions, one containing over 2,300 signatures from Sikh families and another 30 signatures from the neighboring industrial businesses which surround the proposed site. Certainly for many Abbotsford citizens to have a choice in the educational system, the educational opportunities for their children is a positive thing. The Provincial Ministry of Education promotes such ideas, such choices for families. Today, several public schools in West Abbotsford are overcrowded. The provision of this school 200 student school will greatly relieve that overcrowding and improve the teaching environments accordingly. To provide further perspective, we ask Council to please fully consider the significance of the decision before you. We are familiar with planning principles and land use issues, and we see the somewhat uniqueness of this circumstances here. However, we request that before Council today the real question before Council today is whether the City of Abbotsford chooses to deny a singular opportunity to provide for the needs of a large number of city children in favor of preserving a marginal, less than feasible, poorly suited few acres of land in the industrial zone only in its name. Surely the positives outweigh the negatives. We expect the overall good of the community and its people to take precedence. In conclusion, and to reiterate our focus today, we are speaking to Council to seek your support in moving forward this application for public input, which Council can then judge the merits of the application more completely. We humbly ask for your consideration in this regards. Thank you, and I understand Dale Drown will be representative of the Métis will be addressing you now.
Thank you. Now, before you go ahead, you can applaud, if those that want to. Before you sit down, are there any questions to this delegation? None? Okay, thank you very much. Received by Councillor Smith, seconded by Councillor Gibson. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Dale. Welcome.
Well, Your Worship, nice to be here. Let me first off thank the Mayor and all of you as councillors for the opportunity to address you on this topic this afternoon. As you know, as I've been introduced, my name is Dale Drown, and I'm the Executive Director of the Métis Nation, British Columbia. And I'm joined this afternoon by our Chief Financial Officer, Karen Nagra, there as well. Now, we are the organization that owns this property through the Métis Provincial Council of British Columbia. Now, there's nearly 60,000 self-identified Métis in BC, and our organization works closely with the governments of Canada as well as British Columbia. Now, as Joja Hall mentioned a few moments ago, a bit of background on the property, but let me give you a few more specifics for you. The property was purchased by our organization in 2009, and more than $1 million, not 100,000, not $500,000, but more than $1 million was spent on refurbishing this facility, including installing a new heating and air system, installing a fully equipped commercial kitchen, which the CULSA very much want to be able to take advantage of, upgrading the electrical, and also installing some new energy efficient windows. Now, our offices and the training school have utilized the school building located on the property in question since 2010. So we bought it in 2009, did all the refurbishing, and then moved in 2010. Now, the building, including all the classrooms, administrative offices, the gymnasium, and covered areas, total about 25,000 square feet. The primary purpose of purchasing the property was to establish an employment and training center. However, for several reasons, it is not being a viable enterprise. So as a result, it is being sold, and it's being sold with the full support of the federal and the provincial governments. Now, since this property was put on the market some 8 months ago, and Joe mentioned this a few moments ago, we have received, notwithstanding all of the industrial, or pardon me, the suggestion that there is very little industrial property available. You would think they'd be lining up at our door to buy this property. In 8 months, ladies and gentlemen, in 8 months, we've received one phone call from somebody who would use it for industrial or commercial purposes. That's it. One. CULSA, though, came forward with an excellent offer, which we've accepted everything is cleared. All the subjects have been cleared except one, and that is the reason we're before council this afternoon. Now, for the Khalsa Society and their 200 children that Joe just mentioned, they've got 200 children already on the waiting list. All the school needs to be a functioning and operational educational institution for children, once again, are the students' desks. That is it, ladies and gentlemen. They don't have to go in there and do $500,000 of refurbishing. Nothing. Blackboards are still there. In fact, I'll bet you if I looked around, I'd find the chalk is still there. So everything is there. But now let's turn to the property. The property itself comprises of about 13 acres. But because of Fish Trap Creek and the riparian zone that parallels it, combined with a flood protection covenant, the actual usable space is only about, get this, 5 acres. Give or take a half an acre. That's it. 13 acres, and you got a usable 5 and a little bit more acres. It's surrounded by land designated for parks, green space areas on 3 sides. Now, Fish Trap Creek, in case you didn't know, is a Class A red-coded watercourse, meaning the creek is inhabited or potentially inhabited by salmon year-round. And I suspect council has had some dealings with Fisheries and Oceans Canada, and you know they're very, very sensitive to messing with anything to do with red-coated watercourses. Now, ladies and gentlemen, in the unlikely event that another purchaser was found who wanted to use it for industrial purposes, not only would they be faced with a very small footprint upon which to build, but in addition, they would have to incur enormous costs to truck in clean fill. Actually, over 25,000 cubic meters of fill. And where did I get that figure from? It actually came from an appraisal done for the school district. So 24,000 plus cubic meters has got to be trucked in. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be clean fill. Why? Because the ground slopes down to the riparian zone. And Fisheries and Oceans will not allow any contamination, as is proper, of that riparian zone and then the salmon creek. There would also be significant costs incurred to tear down a perfectly good building and have the waste hauled away. So between the hauling into the fill and the tearing down of the school, and most of you, if not all of you, have got good, sharp business minds, think in terms of probably a minimum of $500,000 to $600,000 to, in fact, get it to that particular state. Now, why would anyone purchase our property plus incur the additional costs of tear down and fill when they have so many other choices within the city because of the existing, and you heard Joe quote this. This is not our study. This is Wakeman Cushman's work. Because of the existing 7-year surplus supply of already serviced but vacant industrial property that you have here in this city. I would suggest that is the chief reason why in 8 months we've received only 1 phone call and no offers from potential industrial users. Now, we are aware that the OCP has designated this land as industrial. But given that this land in its history has never, ever been used for industrial purposes except for the technical school that we've used it for in the last 2 years, and given the natural features of this property, the parks, the watercourse, the riparian zone, the hiking trail, oh, and let's remember the floodplain, we strongly believe that this land was, quite frankly, incorrectly designated. In the council report on this subject dated August 3rd of this year, and all of you, I suspect, have had it, and most of you, if not all of you, have had a chance to read that report prepared by Melissa Price of your planning department. She states that, quote, staff, this is staff within the planning department, staff wrestled with the land use question that asks if the site has been used as an institutional use, i.e. elementary school, in the past, should we endorse a non-industrial land use going into the future? And all of us, ladies and gentlemen, are aware of what she and her colleagues recommended to you at council. Well, the question we must ask is, why was this piece of property with a public school sitting on it for over 50 years, 60 years almost, with a salmon stream flowing through it, with a riparian zone, with a flood zone, and with designated parkland on 3 sides, why was the property ever designated for industrial purposes? Now, one of the 5 major strategies of your OCP is number 2. Number 2 says protect our natural environment. That strategy includes the objective of, quote, conserve sensitive natural environments. Now, goal 5 of the 8 regional growth strategy goals is protecting the natural environment and promote environmental stewardship. And within the OCP, it says the city recognizes the impact of human activity on the environment, and through this OCP attempts to address the substantial challenges growth pressures pose to the environment. So when you look at this particular piece of property, councillors and mayor, with its stream, its natural environmental features and adjacent parks, through the lens of those strategic goals that councils have endorsed, there is no doubt in our mind that this land should never have been designated industrial. Now, given that even your staff, your professional staff, wrestled with this question, we don't think it's unreasonable, council, to suggest that, in fact, because it's obviously an issue that some of you feel this way, some of you feel that way, your own professional staff have wrestled with it, to use their words, why would you not, ladies and gentlemen, consider putting it out to a community information meeting? And I've also had the chance to take a look at each of your quotes from 2011, from the 2011 election. I actually, you know what, now in this day of Google, you tend to go online and do that. Well, no, yours truly went to the local library and actually pulled it out. And I took a look at all of yours. And almost to a man and woman, you talked about the importance of, in fact, being good public servants, but also listening and being accountable to your citizens, which I know you are. Here's an opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, to, in fact, defer to the citizens who've elected you. Give them an opportunity to give some feedback on this particular project. And then, obviously, because of your process, if in fact it comes back to council with a report and they say, no, hey, look, this is just not on, obviously then council does whatever it has to do to follow the process. But I don't want to miss something that Joe Jahal said to you just a few minutes ago. Did you catch it where he in fact said, the land that is in fact under covenant, which again is the riparian zone, the creek, the parks, he and the Khalsa Society are prepared to dedicate that to the city. Hugely important. Let me put a picture to that for you. Their purchase price, I mean, everyone else knows this, so why don't you? I'll share it with you as well. Their purchase price translates into about $400,000 an acre. So if you take roughly the 8 or so acres that Joe just talked about, you do the math. What does that add up to? $3.2 million. Now, when was the last time you had an organization come before this council and make an offer like that? I would suggest it's being probably rare. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a hugely important issue for us, the Métis Nation in British Columbia. And, you know, it's about giving children a choice, which Joe has talked about, versus, in fact, continuing to subject an owner of a property to say, oh, look at, yeah, you guys, you might have got a good deal, but our OCP says it's got to be industrial. To heck with what the marketplace is telling you, it's got to be industrial. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I've also in my years been accountable to members of the public. And I look at the value of this land from an environmental standpoint, and I look at the value of what the Khalsa is going to bring into the community by bringing a school in. Ladies and gentlemen, I think the preferred option for you would be to at least allow it to go to a community information meeting and let the cards fall where they might. But thank you so much for your time and your patience this afternoon and listening to my presentation.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any questions for this delegation? No? Councillor Gibson. I'm sorry, I didn't. Anyone over on this side? I didn't look. Okay, Councillor Gibson.
I'll just be brief. To me, as you recall, those of you who were here last time, this is really a matter of stewardship. The school exists. It's had a lot of work done on it as a school, notwithstanding the fact that it's the OCP. If you pull back that picture, you'll see it's just at the very. It's only about just a few blocks. If you go to the ALR, is right there on Mount Lehman. I mean, it's all of that green space around there will be protected. And I just felt it was good stewardship when Councillor Gill and I spoke to it last time. It just seems it's not going to be used for industrial. And for me, if we had a lot of industrial land available, or rather if we didn't have a lot of industrial land available, see there's another look at the property, then it would be much more persuasive. But there's lots and lots of land industrial. Further to Councillor Lowen's comment regarding the OCP.
Somewhere in this, you're going to motion to receive the delegation.
Okay. Well, I guess that.
No, I don't think he was going to ask the delegation.
Okay. Well, I'll second that, but I think I think there was a lot of good points made there. That's what I was thinking.
We'll have it in a second. I'm sorry. Motion to receive, seconded by Councillor Gibson. Is there any discussion on that? All those in favor? And
I'm prepared to move a motion, or what should the time is moving
fire
on.
away.
I would move that we approve this going to public hearing, or I guess what?
Motion by Councillor Gibson to go to a public hearing. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Gill. Would you like to? What's 1 and 3? I'm sorry. Recommendations are 1 through 4? 1, 3, and 4, rather? 1, 3, and 4? Okay. So, and Councillor Gill, you'll go along with that? Thank you. Okay. Now we can have discussion. Carry on.
Well, I think I've already spoken to it, but clearly this is a matter of stewardship. And further to Councillor Lowen's comment, many times like for example, churches have to go into the agricultural land reserve because there's no other room for them. We have schools in areas that are residential. I mean, there's going to be areas where you're going to have to put in facilities that are large, that require a lot of utilization by students or young people or patrons in areas where they would not normally be located. They tried to buy this Dunick school and it wasn't available. So I have some sympathy with this. I think this is something that they're going to make good use of the school, the existing school. And if you look at the location, the fact they're going to dedicate all the land for the trail system and riparian zone, only half the land, less than half the land is developable in any event. So I would encourage council members to support this motion.
Councillor Braun.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll repeat what I said last time. I have been critical of our planning staff, well, not just our planning staff, our staff in general, or the way we do business with respect to ad hoc planning. I thought this was a very good report put forward by Melissa. I was especially impressed with the change of this area over the last 60 years or 70 years. I can't remember the photographs. I would have the same comments no matter what delegation came to have this changed. For me, it's a matter of this is an industrial area. There is an industry on 4 sides. The fact that it hasn't sold, there's a lot of people who are lamenting the fact that their industrial land hasn't sold. That's just a matter of market function. With respect to the 400,000 per acre, with all due respect, that sounds good, but what they're really buying is 5 acres of 13 acres. the $400,000, nobody would pay you $400,000 for that land, but that's a side issue. My concern that I haven't raised before is if something were to happen in an industrial area, a chemical spill or a truck running over a child, we will be criticized for having allowed a school in what is basically an industrial area. So for that reason, I will be voting against the motion. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? I got a couple things I want to say on this. I've given this a lot of thought. And with regards to the industrial zone, the fact is not lost on me that we have a Christian school on the other side of town that is directly across the street from a propane storage confinement and a railroad, and one of the busiest freeways that we have. It's right on the Abbotsford Mission Highway. And they were allowed to expand and build. I think in this particular case that what they're asking for is reasonable to go to a public hearing. We will still have an opportunity to say no to this after a public hearing. But having thought about it, having discussed it and pondered it, I think that in this particular case, given the fact that there is a need, there is a shortage of land, I'm compelled to send this to the public hearing. At the end of the day, I don't know whether I will sit back and say, no, I think this should be industrial lands, but I am compelled to at least listen to what the citizens of this city have to say with regards to this particular piece of property. It was a school. Technically, it is a school. Due to being able to operate the way they are, we asked for a change in the zoning, as my understanding is on this particular case. So I'm compelled to allow it to at least go to a public hearing to listen to what the citizens that put us here have to say about this. In this particular case, it's one of those rare cases where, and it is a bit of an orphaned piece of property, that I would like to hear what the people have to say, in my own personal opinion. So I would be in support of it at least going to a public hearing. At the end of the day, all bets are off as to whether it stays industrial or not. But I think that in this particular case, there is no harm to be had by allowing the process to continue and asking for that additional input. And that's really what they're asking for here today. So that's what I got to say. Anyone else have anything to say? The question on the motion has been called by Councillor Smith. So, I'm sorry? That it goes one through the, so by voting yes, you're saying yes, it's going to go to public hearing. Public information meeting. 1, 3, and 4. It's now 1, 3, and 4. Are we all understand? So a vote in favor sends it to 1, 3, and 4 to a public information. So, all those in favor? Opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The motion is defeated. Okay, motion by, it's denied either way, but Councillor Smith, what you want to, Councillor Smith has moved to 1 and 2, is that correct? Okay. All right. Sorry? We need to receive the report. Motion to receive, actually, you can do that. Moved by Councillor Gill, seconded by Councillor Smith. Any discussion? Just motion to receive the report. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you.